interest in business administration and economics. So what do we do? I think that lady you met, Dr. Chang from BCCI, from the Chamber of Commerce. We had a lot of activities regarding some years ago, 2020. So we supported that on the macro level. So we supported Ministry of Foreign Affairs in general, then Chamber of Commerce. We had some guides, like for example that one, to support Vietnamese company to export to European Union. And on the micro level, we created lighthouses. That means 4 companies we made fit for business in European Union. Unfortunately, it was COVID-19 times, and the companies could not export so well, but they have been very well prepared. So, but COVID-19 was here not so problematic, not like in Europe in some places. What else do we do? I was in sales. In Deutsche Bank, I was in sales. So not in the back office, I was in sales. So I tried to sell as much as possible of our activities. And we have a huge coverage in the press. Let's say at least once a week, we have one article written by me, not only a small one, a big one. We are on the television. And we are the most active foundation here, I would say, political foundation in Vietnam. To give you one example for practical research we are doing, we had a very nice research with a university, foreign trade university, about how Vietnamese people consider rich people. You know, you are from India, also difference between the very rich and the not so rich, the very poor people in Vietnam the same. But the question is, how do the people accept it? And it's interesting to see that countries like France, very much, or Germany, they are very jealous for the rich people. Yeah. And in Vietnam, it turns out the people are not. If they see, not everyone, if they see someone with a Bentley or Rolls Royce, they say, I want to have the same. If I don't get it, my kids will get it, or my grandkids. So at the end, it's a different perception, and we made that research, quantitative research, to find out with the university how Vietnamese people are seeing that. Another one, we are supporting here one university. That's a book we issued about the German-Vietnamese relations in German and Vietnamese. With that university, we had conferences about economic development in Vietnam, entrepreneurship for young students, because not the government officials are the machine, the engine for development. It's the entrepreneur. It's you are doing something. And government officials and chambers are supporting, but you are doing the job, and we would like to support young entrepreneurs, young students to learn. Not all are successful, but it's good to fail, and the next time they can do it in a better way, especially the youngsters with no financial commitment. What else do we have? One project we had, that's from Germany, by the way, these cookies. We had one thing, we had CBDC, Central Bank Digital Currency, the blockchain technology and so on. How can it be applied in Vietnam? And perhaps you know that China is extremely active. For India, I don't know so much, but the central bank currency is something very, very relevant, and Vietnam has to deal with it. We had a conference and also some conference about ASEAN studies and economic development, sponsored by us, but not only sponsored, but we are also on the stage. That means me, with that one, we have also some economists from FNF who's also writing for that. So we are very specific and unique, because we are not only sponsoring, but we are also giving some input.
Is it similar to Bitcoin kind of thing?
Yeah, Bitcoin is decentralized, and the central bank digital currency is controlled by the government.
Okay.
And just to explain you, the Chinese are very advanced. And if you as a country say India or Vietnam, we don't do anything, we keep our rupiah or our Vietnam dong.
Yes.
The Chinese come here to Vietnam and say, okay, I have some tourists and they want to pay with the electronic currency, and you have to control it.
Okay.
Also for logistics, and is there any banker here? But I think we know letter of credit, what letter of credit is. So yeah, I think everyone.
No, I'm not the banker, but yeah. India is not. I mean, RBI has recently released digital rupee, which is still being tested by the bankers, and it has been even released to the people who are working in bank now. So they're testing it in the testing phase. I think probably soon enough they're going to release it to the general public as well.
Yes. No, you see, every country is working on that. But China, to be honest, they have been front runner. They have been very much ahead. And the other countries have to react for all areas, for logistics, for blockchain technology, as well as for the currency. Because they can urge other countries to accept their currency and it's get out of control. Okay, that's what we are doing. I just look at the watch because I would like to make it very quickly now. So, just to tell you what we do besides, it's besides our work publications. It's in German a house culture management guide. I make it in my leisure time. Or another book I wrote in Vietnamese about motivation. I wrote in German. My wife translated to Vietnamese for this market. A lot of conferences. It's beyond that what we have to do. The so-called extra mile. So it's my hobby to write. It's my hobby to stand in front of other people. So I do that, and my team, by the way, is doing the same. Okay, we also have. I make it very quickly. We have an academy in Germany where we train. And Gummersbach, have you been there? Yeah, so our partners are allowed, or we invite them to join if it's suitable, and they go there for 1 week or 2 weeks to learn a little bit about economics, about freedom of press, about leadership, and many other issues. That's what we are doing in Germany. And now I make it very short today. I would like to introduce to you my insights or my opinion on the Vietnamese economy. In my opinion, the financials are very sound. If you need some more information, I can give you a link to a newsletter. It's very good if you are businesswomen, and you would like to make a business plan. You need to have these figures and to present it, either to have it by yourself or to present it to partners and so on. And I can give you a link and from a bank for investment and development, and they have very good data for that. GDP growth expected to be huge in the next years. Global economy is good, expected to be good, but not as good as Vietnam. CPI, Consumer Price Index, inflation, about 3%. We all know we can't believe the figures. In Germany, they say we have 7% or 10, it's more. And here also it's a little bit more, but still it's under control. It's under control because the Vietnamese did not print money as hell, like the United States or the European Central Bank. So they kept that in a very slow pace. Exchange rates are stable. It was not always the case. 12 years ago, when I was here first time, not. But there's still a lot of pressure from that they are not evaluating anything. If there's a financial crisis, who knows? The last crisis, the COVID-19 crisis, Vietnam managed quite well. They still had economic growth of 3%. But again, you don't have to trust the figures because the shadow economy is huge in Vietnam. And shadow economy went down. And officially, you still had GDP increase, but they reacted very quickly and they returned to the open policy and they said we beat COVID-19 in September 2021. Prime Minister said we are done. That's Vietnamese pragmatism. Something what I would like to show you, I did not look for India, but the World Heritage Foundation has an index of economic freedom. And according to the newest survey, which came out some time ago, some weeks ago, Vietnam first time moderately free, up to 2.9 points. It was the year before, so they grew very quickly. One reason is the domestic financial situation, which is sound, so they are not over-indebted in Vietnam. And I can say that since the survey began, Poland and Vietnam were the fastest growing economies. You can say perhaps Vietnam only moderately free, Singapore is better, but of course for the freedom. But the development of Vietnam is this, second to none. There are no other countries in this size except Poland who grow so quickly. And the drivers were foreign direct investment and trade. So when you are doing something here in Vietnam, they're very open, especially because the crisis comes again, it comes back again. So they are very open to any policy. And Vietnam has now 15 free trade agreements with 60 countries. That's from the German Chamber of Commerce. I think you can see the development. India is not far behind regarding GDP, and it's coming. It's coming very quickly. This is the sum of the ASEAN countries, and that's what will be the future. Here's some slides regarding the free trade agreements. You don't have to look in the details, but you can see Vietnam here in the center is in so many free trade agreements. I think with India also free trade agreement. So that's not always easy. People who are doing trade, they tell me there are non-tariff barriers, it's not so easy, standards and so on. But in principle, you have a very well-established system. Problem is sometimes that Vietnamese companies don't know how to use it, especially SME. Regarding German business is really bullish. We had a survey last year about the 4,000 companies, German companies worldwide, and most of the German companies expect Vietnam to grow in this year. 93% said they would like to continue to invest in Vietnam and would like to increase the investment. That's from the German perspective, and something very interesting, what they see compared to the world. And this is very small written. I just explained to you how do they think economic expectations on the ground. That's the most important part here. The world total expectations is negative, and also regarding the Eurozone. So German companies say Eurozone world development not so good. But having a look at Southeast Asia looks much different. China still negative, but Vietnam positive. Vietnam is really outstanding. If German companies are asked about their investment and the economic expectations, and that's really second to none. It's better than Thailand and better than Singapore from the expectations. What are the reasons? I think one reason is that they have a liberal, open political environment since the reforms, Dolmøy 1986. And I call it Dolmøy, that means reform, revolution to a certain extent, because they make it new and they put it on the next level. Vietnam investment value is investment good for the companies who are already here, Vietnamese as well as foreigners. Monetary policy, they don't have zero interest rate policy like United States, Eurozone, no zero interest rate. You know, zero interest rate. Bad companies get loaned very easy. Companies spend the money for nothing, for rubbish things, and so on. And people don't get money for saving. They did not do that. They still had positive interest rates, and everyone said in COVID-19, please reduce, but they did not do that. They are so much afraid of inflation because 12, 15 years ago, they had a huge inflation, and you can see it from the banknotes, 500,000 Vietnam note. Fiscal policy the same. I will give you later the figures. They are very careful because they don't want to be indebted. They don't want to be depending on China, don't want to be dependent on US, also not dependent on India. That's out of scope. Then we have the free trade agreements, and what I can conclude is that Vietnam is ready for repositioning. Some risks, of course, we have the crisis in Ukraine and in China. Here in Vietnam, they try to be, by the way, neutral. When you talk to Vietnamese, they say, I like Russians, I like Ukrainians, I have no problem. Both helped us against the Americans in the big war. They call it American War, not Vietnam War. They helped us. We don't have problem with anyone. And they sometimes they say it's a kind of proxy war, US against China, US, and Vietnamese don't want to be part of that. later I say what the conditions for you are in that connection. Also, virus. I was never afraid of COVID-19. Different thing, it can come back, or any virus can come back. And also the conflict between China and US. It's something what you're also, I think, sensing in India, that they want to force you to take one side. I think India and China had some border disputes in the past, so not the best friends, but also be careful with US and so on. So Vietnam does the same. They are not enemy of anyone. They would like to be careful. From the history, they have had more problems with China in the past, but they are not completely on the US side. They would like to be outside. What can be the consequence? The consequence for you could be that due to that conflict, Vietnamese from the political side are more open to neutral third parties. That is European Union. Okay, they are more on the US side, but still from business side neutral. We also have India definitely, who can be seen here as some country or some investor who is neutral regarding political things. India doesn't want to take part of Vietnam. We don't want to. So on, that's very positive. And 2 weeks ago, I met that guy, Ravi. He's one of my friends. He's in the same business organization as I, the Business Executive Network, and he invited us to his company. And he's doing in textiles. So they are producing here and they're importing, exporting to all over the world. And he explained us how difficult it is in spite of free trade agreements, because it's not so easy. But you see, and he also businesses to come here, but you have to be aware of the fact that they don't cheat you. I think that's normal. So I would like to have a short summary, and then we have perhaps some minutes time for questions. Vietnam's political policy basis is sound, clear commitment to free trade, no question to say, okay, we don't do it, or we don't do it with A or B, they do it with everyone, which is open for free trade. Manageable national budget, the debt to GDP ratio is 43.7%. To compare, in Germany, we have 70%. It's still not so bad, but that's only the official figures. Unofficially, the pensions for the government officials, some people say it's about 300%. So it's quite a big. But let's take the official figures. It is not bad. In fact, with this figure, they could enter European Union. That's because they are below the threshold of Maastricht criteria. So manageable national budget, investor-friendly economic climate, and last but not least, liberal-oriented economic policy. That doesn't mean you can make business easy, because we have bureaucracy, we have some people who are not experienced, people cannot speak English. You have to deal with all the stuff of every businessman, businesswoman has to do, because people, not everyone is a good business partner. So due diligence is really important before you start a business. And I can say, that means thank you. And I'm open for questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very good presentation. Even BCCI did not. You have given a complete overview of Vietnam economic policy. It's very good. Actually, I think
I have much more.
Yeah.
Perhaps I can send to you the analysis of BIDV, Bank for Investment and Development, 8 pages. If you are interested, you can be put on the mailing list. It's very good for the economic figures to get some understanding. Yeah.
You can add our name in the chamber so that we can circulate it to our members also.
Yeah, I will send it to you.
Please. So now I just thought that they can just introduce themselves a minute, about what they are.
Oh, sorry that I didn't.
Some of them are already benefited out of FNF programs.
Yeah.
Because FNF, we have done the programs on digital marketing and e-commerce and things like that. They also would like to share their experience on how they felt about FNF.
Yeah, please. I just make it, shut it down here, so that I don't disturb anyone. Okay.
I'm Mr. Kumar. I own a company called Hidan Biotech, and we are into manufacturing of all animal feed supplements. So we manufacture feed supplements for fisheries, shrimp, piggery, poultry. So our company is a 16 years old company. Um, uh, so 16 years, in the 16 years, we don't have any problem. But due to this pandemic, we had some setbacks, and we are thinking of how to come up from these pandemic problems and all. So at that point of time, FNF through Andhra Chamber of Commerce, they conducted these digitalization programs like marketing to WhatsApp interface and all. So I'm very much grateful to FNF, and I'm very much grateful to Andhra Chamber of Commerce because at that point of time when we can't able to market our products and we are lagging behind due to this pandemic, digital platforms, digital B2B platforms, and with these Facebook and WhatsApp, we coped up some like thing, and we got inquiries from some parts of the world. Actually, before that, we marketed in the local market, but because of these digitalized programs like Facebook marketing, WhatsApp marketing, Twitter marketing, and all, we got some inquiries from Poland, we got some inquiries from Brazil. So that is the thing, and we are very much grateful to FNF and Andhra Chamber of Commerce for this help and support because financially we can't do anything, but with the knowledge, we are settled right now. And thank you so much for your help.
Yeah. Thank you.
Myself, Srinivas, from Bhaskar Resources, Hyderabad. We are manufacturer of solar mounting components. We are producing 100,000 components per month and exporting to US. We are exploring another product, trying to establish another product line. We are in searching of technology partner for any product, but especially in electronics.
They all come to explore the market of Vietnam. Each one has got an industry. For example, he's having poultry, they are into real estate. So each one has got their industry. They want to explore the possibilities of opening or joint venture or looking for buyers.
Do you meet companies here during your trip?
No, we are going to meet a company in the afternoon. But as it is, we could not plan much because yesterday we attended this Vietnam Expo. There is an expo going on. So there they could meet and get some queries.
Yeah.
So today we had a meeting with Vietnam Chamber and with you. And in the afternoon we have some unit visits.
Yeah. Because the companies are really
Companies,
important. Link up with them. And
Yeah.
I think the Indian Chamber of Commerce here, they are also very active.
Yes.
They could give you some advice.
I'm Jayaraj. I retired as a general manager for Steel Authority Limited, government of India enterprise. Of course, same Steel Authority does have a German connection. One of our major steel plants, the Dokila, is under the German collaboration, started in 1996. It's one of the big steel plant. Of course, I'm interested in steel. Studies of steel industry in Vietnam. And then yesterday we went to the expo, we saw a lot of expositions there, but not much by major industries, rather big industries. So what are the priority industries as far as Vietnam is concerned? Then technologically, today Industry 4.0 is the buzzword. Where does Vietnam stand? In fact, India also, we are not waking up to that. But then Vietnam, particularly with the China bringing down its neck. What is the status of industry? So the language, what is the Vietnamese policy on language? Because we find hardly people know any English or any other language. And like to, you know, the can this can be developed without going for an international language. But it's a globalized world.
No, that's three questions. And I hope that the others have enough time. I have time. I reserve time until today until 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and I have to go and eat something. But I think very shortly regarding the language, it's a problem. It's in fact a problem, especially the middle-aged and older generation, and especially outside the big cities. And also you cannot always trust the interpreter. If you take an interpreter, my Vietnamese is intermediate, so B2, so not so bad. And I speak in English, and I have an interpreter, and she translated the opposite what I said. Can you imagine? Opposite. And I look at her. It was more about motivation, and for young students, I think, okay, I don't care. But if it's for business reason, you need to be exact. That's a big problem. But the solution is try to identify companies who are open-minded and who have people who can speak English. Guarantee is not guaranteed by professional companies. Number two, where to invest in Industry 4.0. I think Vietnam's strength is the openness, that they are open to anyone, to any investor, and giving a guarantee for the investment. That's the strength, not this particular one. And number four is steel industry. I'm not a specialist there, but I know that, for example, car manufacturers, the big one, they are really need steel. And for example, the big group, the VinFast, they are producing the cars here. I think that could be interesting, but I don't know exactly because they know it better than me.
Right. My name is Shivaram and the director for Latin Private Limited company, and we deal with organic foods and products. And if I'm standing today here because of the foundation training that conducted digital marketing through Facebook. That's when how I got in touch with Vijay Garu. And thankfully, the training was really wonderful. We benefited a lot from that. And apart from see, it would be really helpful if you could also support us with the local information which companies have invested in the Indian economy and their interest towards us. That would really help us. And that's my feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much to all. I think in theory and in practice, I could do that, but it's not the job of the foundation. I'm a banker. I worked here for many years in Vietnam. I also have some contacts to business organizations, but my mission here for the foundation is more on the political, the policy level. So writing theoretical Chamber of Commerce or business associations when they have their meetings. For example, that guy, I know that Mr. Ravi is from a different industry, but getting in touch to those people, talking to them, get first-hand experience because he works here on the ground. A different thing, manufacturing and import-export. That's his business. And some of you could get some information. But that's what I mean with networking.
Yes.
So,
hopefully Indian Chamber of Commerce can support us to get
I think more. They can do that more. But same with all chambers. They don't specialize in your field. So they know a little bit, and then they have to be careful because they cannot make consultants. Because if they make consultancy, Indian consultancies here will get angry. So we have to pick, and my recommendation would be try to identify some people who are already here on the ground, perhaps not direct competitors, but they are also Indian background, they love India, they have some connections, and you can exchange your opinion. And if you are in livestock or in food industry, you are not a competitor of the textile guy. Yeah. But you can, if you have sympathy between two people, you can exchange ideas. And that would be, I think, very valuable to have some Indian people here. You can exchange ideas. Because the time is, for me, again, I have enough time. I love it. I had 2 weeks ago, one of my friends, Abhishek Bave from Mumbai, he came here with his family. We worked here together for Deutsche Bank. He's a banker, and now he's in private banking. So he's running a big company for consultancy in the finance. And he saw Vietnam 12 years ago, and now saw to develop.
How about the investment and insurance in Vietnam is coming for the people?
Investment.
Future development of the people, or investment in insurance, or investment
Yeah.
in
Insurance 12 years ago it was nearly non-existing, and now I think for the industry insurance it's better than for the private people, because private people think I get an insurance and I get more money out than I pay inside. They don't see that it's an
If you
insurance.
feel if we keep an insurance and financial support privately here in Vietnam, then definitely there will be a move here.
Insurance company, it's difficult. I think it's too early for the broad, for the masses, for retail insurances, but industry insurances, it's okay. But
Related to their financial sustainability, related to their health concerns and all those.
I'm a banker, not insurance guy, but they have problems with market risk management, credit risk management, operational risk management, all that stuff, and I think it's not yet perfectly done. So from that, it's better than
This
before.
government is giving the support for the Vietnamese, or how they are planning for their money on their future risks, future to, for the
In retail
savings
or
and
for the normal
even in an individual as well as a company.
Yes. I was in retail banking, so I can speak more for the masses, for the normal private clients. They don't have a lot of options here. They have the options, and they did not change so much. They could invest in real estate, and you see a real estate bubble here. People cannot buy because it's too expensive. Many houses are empty, and they can invest in gold. And the stock market is not transparent. They don't have a really transparent stock market. So they have front running people now before if something is happening in the banking industry, and then they buy the shares or sell the shares. It's not good at that moment. You also cannot transfer money from Vietnam to go back on a private basis, and also for companies. So this is not perfect, but if something is not perfect, means there's room for improvement. And so companies who invest and try to make it better, they can profit from the development.
How about the tourism industry's growth in Vietnam for the future you would expect? Like,
Yes.
because I'm into the tourism industry for 20 years. I'm in this industry and I have my own company. And we do promote all countries all over the world. Where Vietnam is now, a lot of visa constraints on the European segments from India. So now people are mostly moving towards the Vietnam. So how do you expect Vietnam development in tourism?
First of all, before COVID, tourism industry was less developed than Thailand. Thailand is destination number one in Southeast Asia. And during COVID, it collapsed completely. My wife, before we married, and all of her friends and colleagues, they lost their jobs. But now Vietnam is coming back quickly. And I think it will be a very attractive destination. They are improving the infrastructure so that you can get from one airport to the beach much faster. So I think tourism industry is a very good area here in Vietnam. I'm not sure if it makes sense to build up hotel by yourself, but if you would like to cooperate with hotels, it's a good time.
Okay. No, how about Vietnamese travel plans? They used to go, here. How about they? Or only inbound they look for, or they
A
also.
lot of inbound and outside, but we should see that this is a country which is emerging.
Okay.
10 years, 20 years ago, not many people could travel. So their first destinations would be Thailand, perhaps Cambodia by bus, or Laos by bus, Singapore, Malaysia, and India is
Most of the East Asia.
East Asia. And then, of course, Europe. People like to go to Europe for 1 week or 10 days. And India is not the prime destination yet, but it can change.
Yeah, that's what I also want to know about. That's why more inbounds are not happening from Vietnam to India.
I think at that time it's too, my personal opinion, not special, it's too early for the Vietnamese. What I know from my wife and all the Vietnamese family members, and I have a big family here, most of them, they say this area or Europe, perhaps US. India is in the middle. And I love to travel to India. It was my dream when I was 16 or 17. I read a book about India and I want to travel there. That was my first. And,
Have you been to India?
I've been there. But when I was 18 or 19, I had some money. I want to go to Asia, go to travel agency, and they say, "Oh, you are so young." It was 1986. Better go to Singapore. It's easier for you.
But how long you are in Vietnam?
3 plus 3 years. 3 years as banker and 3 years here.
But you learned Vietnamese because other people don't know English. It's
Yeah, no,
surprising, for a German to learn Vietnamese.
because I like it. I like to learn, and it takes a lot of time, but it helps to get a better feeling of the culture. And sometimes the best is if you can speak a foreign language, pretend that you don't speak.
I know.
Just listen to that.
Under economic freedom, apart from the FTA and all that, what are the other things that you do, like entrepreneurship development and things like that? Do you do that?
With some companies, not so much on the company level, but I'm privately interested in the business development. So I'm a member of some business associations, the German Business Association, the European Chamber of Commerce, and Business Executive Network. And I like to be around with people who do business, not only political guys.
Yeah.
So that's what I do beside the normal foundation.
So you are the member of association, local association.
Yes, local association. They are here. They are different. European Chamber of Commerce is more for the political side. The GBA, they make a lot of parties. And the Business Executive Network, there are people like you who are talking only about business, not about politics. So I'm a member of that. Yes. So a member of 3 organizations.
How closely the foundation working with the government?
Quite close, because we have, you see, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, BCCI, they're all government, and I'm sure that the police already checks me and background check very carefully if we do something against government, but in fact we don't do it. We are supporting economic development, and most Vietnamese, including government, want to have it.
Because for doing the FTA and all that, I think definitely you need the government support, right?
Yes, we have to, when we make a conference, we have to ask. There's an organization, but we never have problems. It's only bureaucracy. It takes some time sometimes. But also license, 4 months, 6 months. We get our license for the office every 3, 4 years. But it's not because they don't want, it's because of bureaucracy.
So how will be the growth of IT industry digitalization in Vietnam?
They want to do more in that because the middle income countries, they are trapped if they just produce and they don't get the next step. I'm not a specialist in Bangladesh, for example. They have the problem to move to the next step, and Vietnam is now taking the next step to try to attract more IT, more service industry. And one of the newest ideas is create a financial hub in Ho Chi Minh City.
Okay.
They would like to do it like Dubai. But if they grew, they need also definitely IT, fintech, and so on.
Is Vietnam trying to become another South Korea?
I'm not sure. I think, but they are on the way. There are positive and negative things. One positive thing is, for example, that Vietnam is very open. Negative thing is there are much more competitors, I think, in the case of Korea. So and the positive is also they have a big market. We have 100 million potential consumers here in Vietnam. Growing middle class, you can sell in the country. ASEAN, 660 million people live here. Bigger middle class than China, by the way. So it could be interesting for people to invest here.
Because when yesterday we visited Expo, right, we saw a lot of Korean market, South Korean products are being used here.
Yeah, Korea and Japan are here very much. China in the front, and you see some Europeans on the street, and you think, okay, European business, but in fact, that's what you don't realize. The Koreans who look sometimes similar to Vietnamese, you can't see this 100% difference. There are much more. There are more Korean companies than all European companies together. So that's the importance. Korea, yeah.
Construction industry prospects in Vietnam, sir.
Fine.
Construction industries. Construction. Yeah. Whether it has got prospects in Vietnam.
Yes.
Commercial complex, residential complex.
Yes. I'm not a specialist. It's better to ask from the chamber, but you can see a lot of construction going on regarding the buildings and also infrastructure. Streets are being built. But in my opinion, Vietnamese intermediaries. I don't want to say corruption. Call it compliance. I think it's sometimes very difficult to be, especially in that area. I think that's an area which is very open to that kind of compliance issues. But why not infrastructure projects? We have here not an underground. It's in the surface. The train in Hanoi, constructed by China. In the south, we have Japanese there with the construction of the underground. So there's a lot of construction ongoing. But for the real estate sector, I would be very careful.
Because of compliance issues.
Compliance is in everywhere there's construction, but regarding real estate, I think there are too many buildings. And they are do it for investment. And they like to buy it and then sell it flip it after 6 months or 1 year and get more money. And that's not very healthy. Normally, if you have real estate, either you live there or you have some return on investment from the people who rent it. And here it is just speculating for the profit. Yes. But why not? And I think regarding construction in the building sector, it's more the green building. There are more and more interest in that. If energy prices go up in the future, there could be also some aspects of green building. I think you are from that area that's sometimes very small. You have to make a tree in front of the building, have, for example, double layer windows, or make the windows smaller, exposed to the sun, and the other windows a little bit bigger. Something sometimes not so complicated, but they need it to have.
Good, we will develop old new building. How about the rural area? China, remote area. What is the condition?
You mean the difference between Hanoi and remote areas?
Yeah.
It's a huge difference. It's a huge difference between the countryside. Some people run barfoot in the mountains and so on and here. But what specific for Vietnam is not like Thailand. Thailand is Bangkok. Outside Bangkok, okay, this seaboard area, but the rest is nothing. The second biggest city in Thailand is Chiang Mai or Korat. About 150,000 people living there, perhaps less. So everything is there. Vietnam has a lot of centers. Hanoi, you have Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon, Can Tho in the Mekong Delta, also about 1 million people living there. Da Nang, Haiphong, and then the middle-sized tier 2 cities like here around Bac Giang, Bac Ninh, and there is always construction going on, and they are also developing. In Bac Ninh, for example, they have the production of microchips or of mobile phones for Samsung. Second biggest investor outside Korea, investment of Korea, is Samsung. If you have a Samsung mobile, you look made in Vietnam, most likely.
Yes.
And they have a lot of, and this is something that is very specific. And my recommendation for you as business people would be the center, also BCCI, they can't do everything. But if you go to the provinces and compare the provinces, and say, for example, you would like to have a factory site in, let's say, here close to here, Bac Giang, close to Hanoi, and they are not very friendly to you. You say, okay, I go to the next province. Because there's a competition between the provinces, and some are better, more open to investors, and some are less. And that's what you can decide. You can also decide, do I go to some industrial area? They have some industrial zones. You get some incentives, tax holiday, or some extras. That's one decision. Or you can also say, okay, I don't do that. I try to negotiate with another province and they don't have that industrial zone and try to make it in a different way and get some other benefits from that. The good thing is you can compare directly different offers in one language.
Provision to provision.
Yes, one province to the other. I don't want to name some, but some provinces have a better reputation than the others. And it's not so bad. For example, in Saigon, Binh Duong, the province close to Saigon, it's not directly there. Huge industrial areas. You are close to Saigon Airport, and you can do everything in that province. And they're very open. And if you talk to them, they come with you with open hands. Not only Samsung, but also SME. And that would be my recommendation. You can't go to 63 provinces and municipalities, but you check with other Indians or with the Chamber of Commerce, that you name 3 provinces, and then you talk to the 3 provinces and just check what they could offer to you, to your business.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you so much for your. So can we just take this?
Oh yeah, sure. We can. Do you go for food now? Or?
Yeah, we go for food and then
Where do you go? That's Indian tested. My friend Abhishek said that's the best Indian food, not in India, but the best Indian.
Chamber.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you very much.
This is our newsletter. About our chamber. This is small. It's a small president.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So thank you very much
Just
for.
a photograph for the.
Yeah. Do you need a photo, all of you? Or
First we will take this for the
perhaps you make it here, it's a little bit too tight, I would say. You can go down. Yeah.
So just a 1 second.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So we go down. Thanks for good
Yeah,
information.
good information to hear, then, thank you.
We take a group photo down.
Yeah, downstairs. So that's different of culture. In Vietnam, you're not allowed to open it. You get the gift. In Germany, it's impolite if I don't open it once. If I have opened it once and say, oh, I like this. But in that time, I make it.
No, please.
I make
I know about the German
Because
culture
German
because they
culture
like it normally.
We have to open it once. You can also open like that. That's not a problem. Because that means appreciation. Oh, that's an elephant.
I worked with from the first director of FNF,
Yes.
Dr. Devan Axer.
Yes. So, oh, that's a very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Ganesha, no, it's not Ganesha, but
Yes.
it's the brother of Ganesha.
Yeah.
So when you travel to India, which part of India you travel?
Last time I was mostly with my friends in Mumbai.
Mumbai.
Yeah, because mostly for friends.
That too
You don't come to the
86.
region.
86.
No, you don't.
No, I
come
went
to
to Southeast Asia. Because
they didn't.
Which year? Which year?
I think it was 2010 or something
Oh.
like that. So, not
You
so long
don't.
time
You
ago.
don't go to the regional director's office casting.
Not yet, not yet.
You can make a visit to the outlet chamber also.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have to
I think now.
Yes.